All right, welcome to the Best Man Podcast. We talk about day-to-day events, a lot of fun memories from when we were kids because we were idiots. That's my best man, Joe. I'll cut out your last name. It was good. I'm going to keep it.
And that's the best man, Dave.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm keeping it. Staying that way.
Let's do one more and we'll just post that. It's funny. Just that alone.
Should probably go eat that pork chop. All right. Joe, we're doing an intro. Stop laughing. You laughing is going to make me laugh, and then we can't do this. Are you drinking anything, by the way?
I got 2 Coors Lights and a whiskey.
A whiskey? What kind of whiskey?
Well, I was drinking Weller, and we had a situation where I'm trying to get all the things ready for the baby, and the baby grabbed my whiskey and dumped it all over himself on the ground, which
That's a
stemmed the
bummer.
conversation of the baby does that multiple times a week, and just trying to figure out when I'm going to learn from it. So that's kind of how our night wrapped up.
That's amazing.
So now I'm drinking cheap shit.
I get you. I need you.
But when you drink as much bourbon as I do, you have to find like a cheap bottle to kind of mix in with the good stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wanted you to actually try to give me some suggestions. I want to start buying some whiskey.
I'll give you a couple like gateway drugs into bourbon. They're very, very drinkable.
Okay.
Low alcohol content and very like simple.
Smooth, probably to sip.
Smooth, simple. Not anything like crazy. You start getting into like ryes and like high alcohol content, you got a lot of flavors going on, and like starts scaring people off. But if you get like low alcohol content and like some simple flavors, you can kind of get into it.
Yeah. I'm into that because I do like it when you can actually taste. I know beer snobs are annoying, but there is a lot of flavor in some of these beers they make that have like really cool notes that you can taste. And when they age them too, sometimes they age them in like whiskey barrels. Those beers are pretty gnarly.
Like I had a couple. I got rid of them. I think TJ has one now where you can do like the craft cocktails in like a little mini whiskey barrel. Like there's a few places around town that do it. There's like some places in Cincinnati that do it.
I've seen it before. I just never had it.
They do like
I wonder what was in it.
Like a aged Manhattan or a aged old fashioned. Typically the two that most people do.
I remember Century Bar has a really, really good Manhattan from my recollection.
Yeah, so like
that would be like my go-to drink when we would go there.
Little small world. My neighbor, her son-in-law, his brother is one of the owners of Century Bar.
Oh, crazy.
And so like
still around?
Yeah, like Century Bar actually moved down a couple doors, and like they're doing.
I think I heard that.
It's weird now because it used to be like very like small and galley bar, and like now it's much bigger. But they took all that woodwork out of the old one and moved it into the new one. So like one side of it's like the same idea, and then the other side of it is like very modern, so it's kind of like a little weird. But I have a really funny fucking story about Century. Are we doing this?
Yeah. I mean, I can redo the intro, but it kind of just started flowing, so
yeah,
we can always cut it. You know what I mean? But I think it was fun. I'll cut it so I don't look stupid. Or say
so me and Jeremy and another friend, I forget who it was. So we're at Century Bar having some drinks. We go outside to smoke. This was back when I smoked, and we're out there, and like how across the street is like the bus station, and there's bums all over downtown or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I see this guy down a little ways, like trying to bump cigarettes off of people. I kind of see him. I'm like, oh shit! So I kind of turn my back to him to kind of like block the conversation. So when he walks up, maybe he'll keep moving. Mm-hmm. So it's me, Jeremy, and then the bartender is out there with us. And so we're out front of the building, and this guy walks up and was like, "Hey, you guys got Fireball in there?" And like a little bit of context of Century Bar for everybody out there. Like Century Bar is like ranked of one of the top bourbon bars in the nation. Like some people say it's one of the best bourbon bars in the world. Like it's nationally ranked. It's
Yeah,
hundreds and
shout out
hundreds.
because
Yeah.
they're great.
Hundreds and hundreds of bourbons, like multiple different levels of it. Like it's very, very impressive if you're a whiskey person. And walking up to a bartender and asking him if he has Fireball in there is like almost blasphemous. He doesn't. But so the
He does
bartender
not.
kind of looked
He
at
does
him and
not.
was like, no, no, man, this ain't that type of place. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going to go in there and see what's in there.
Oh
And
my
the
god.
dude goes to start stumbling in there. And the bartender kind of like stops him and he was like, looks like you've had enough today, man. Like, why don't you not go in there? And he kind of looks at me and like kind of like flexes up a little bit. And he's like, do I know you? I was like, yeah, man, you know me. And he's like, how do I know you? I was like, well, I used to be married to your daughter. And he was like, oh, well, let's go get a shot. I'm like, no, he said he can't go in there. And I just go into the bar and keep moving. Jeremy kind of follows behind me and the bartender comes in and like tells the bouncer not to let this dude in. And like the bartender was like, why the fuck are you going to tell that crazy man that you were married to his daughter and then run in here? I'm like, because I was. And he fucking lost it.
Dude, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
And how ironic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hope the best for him in that situation. I don't know what's going on with that, but definitely a weird vibe. It was fucking hilarious though.
That's great. That's great. I'm gonna remember that time. That's a good story. Century Bar, for real though. If you're in the Dayton, Ohio area, check it out. It's a great spot. Next time we're in town, we should go.
Yeah. So what have you been up to over the last few days, man?
Well, I just got back from a short run with Ace Frehley doing some drum teching, and we went to Bristol, Tennessee, which is like north of Knoxville. It's right on the border of Virginia.
Okay.
No joke, downtown Bristol, we played this theater, and I went out front to take a picture of the marquee because all these old school theaters have really cool marquees, and it was all lit up and stuff. When I walked across the street, somebody told me they were like, "You're actually in Virginia." The state line, it was State Line Road, was the middle of the street. So I like walked across to take a picture. So I went to Virginia real quick and came back to Tennessee.
Oh, that's cool. So like
But that was the first show.
my small brain was the Bristol, the like where like the NASCAR races, different place, same place.
No, same place. That's
Okay.
what it's famous for.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the first show. Then we went to Virginia for a few more shows. We kind of bounced around, and very interesting weekend. But I survived. We all did. Shows went fine. It's just interesting some of the places we stay, and the guys that I tour with, if they watch this, they'll probably get a kick out of it. But not always the best hotels, not always the safest areas, and part of being crew or a band for somebody that's like the star, that's just the way it is. It's kind of a bummer, but you got to save money, and we each get our own rooms, so it's like there's still benefits. You know what I mean? It's just
So
I don't want to feel like I'm gonna get robbed just going down to get snacks.
Help me out with the level of quality here. We used to always go party in Cincinnati and try and find like the cheapest hotel we could. So like there for a while, we always stayed in that Travel Lodge in Newport, and that place was an absolute shithole. But it was always packed.
Similar.
It's torn down now though. Like it's not even there.
They built a different hotel there.
Yeah, nicer. Nice.
Yeah, very nice. We've been there.
Yeah, you said it's very similar to that Travel Lodge though.
Yeah, the one I was talking about specifically was the Quality Inn in Bristol, Tennessee. It was nice. They did rebuild the inside, so when you walked in, it didn't look like a Quality Inn. That was one of the benefits. Completely new floors, new furniture, new TVs, like giant ass TVs. I was impressed. So they put some money into it, but the outside didn't look that way. It looked like we were going to get robbed or raped, or both.
Somebody's gonna pick you up and throw you in the back of their van.
Yeah, dude. In any case, so yeah, it was a good little run, and I'll be home until next Wednesday. I'm going out with them for another 2 weeks.
Okay.
We're doing West Coast.
Like a 2 week stretch, like full 2 weeks gone.
Full 2 weeks, yeah. So 8 shows over 13 days and a couple travel days.
I mean, you had a little run there towards the end with Aaron Lewis. There towards the end of that, you went on a little run, but like it's been a while since you've done that. Like,
But hey, it's been a while. Um, yeah, it has been because these weekend warrior things, it's pretty new to me. I'm so used to touring for months on end,
yeah.
so it's been interesting. But it's cool to be able to come home.
But I mean, minus that like few week run with Aaron Lewis, I mean, there for a while you were just gone like Wednesday to Sunday, and you did that for several months.
May 4th was our first show, and it lasted until October 2nd, so 6 months. It was busy, so it is nice to have multiple weeks off, because it makes being home more special.
Okay.
So that's one benefit I would say. People always say it's hard to have a family, but I don't think so. You just got to be loyal to that family.
Yeah.
Carrie and I have a really good system. We FaceTime daily, usually over coffee, like when she wakes up and gets coffee and starts working, and I'm usually in a hotel. It works. You just got to know how to make it work. So if I go out long enough, she'll come visit me.
Yeah, I've seen her do that multiple times. It's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth it. Plus, I fly a lot, so sometimes I get flight perks or we get flight credits sometimes. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we flew to Key West last month. So it was sick.
Yeah.
We had free flights to Miami round trip.
It took a little bit of hustling. If anyone wants to go check out that first episode, you can hear us shameless plug here, but go watch that first episode to hear about Dave's trip to Miami.
For real. But what about you? How was your last week or so?
So I mean, I had a rare full weekend off. It's between NFC Championship and Super Bowl, so not much going on this week. So took the weekend off. Friday, had to take like a food safety class. It's like 8 hours online, so it's pretty mind numbing. Me and Jess took the day off, so like while I was taking breaks in between that, we painted our bedroom. So pretty adulting weekend.
But it's
But
probably
then we
still
had
fun.
Henry's
You know?
my youngest son's. We had his birthday party on Sunday, so a few small little thing. Brothers and sisters, their kids came over. It was actually pretty nice out that day. So it was like in the 50s here. It's
Mhm.
like a lot of the kids were playing outside, playing basketball, doing stuff like that. So
I
it
can't
wasn't
wait
too
till the
bad,
summer. I'm ready.
dude. Like,
Especially with you having boys. Like,
yeah,
you guys need to be outside.
like we do what we can. Like, and like so like we have the 1-year-old Henry, and then we have Jack who's 2.5, and Jack's trying to figure his life out. Like we're trying to get things together, and we're being kind of rowdy, and like we're kind of trying to settle down, and he hasn't settled down yet. And he has this little ball in his hand, and I sit down to do something with Henry, and Jack walks up and just like cracks me right in the side of the head with this ball and just starts laughing. And like I kind of yell at him, and then he's confused because he just thought we were still playing rough, and like he's trying to learn like, okay, well, this is okay rough, this is not okay rough, hitting, punching, kicking, like so like it's hard not to come down on him like super hard because he's still trying to figure it out. But
Mhm.
like in hindsight, like him cracking me in the head with that ball is pretty funny.
Yeah. That's cool though. How old is Henry?
So he turns 1 in a couple days.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Big one.
Yeah.
Pretty wild to think about.
It's funny, man. Like kids are also different, but like Henry, like he doesn't like he's just now like he's just decided he is no longer taking bottles. So he's just refusing all bottles, only eating normal food. Like and like Jack, like there for a while, after he turned 1, we basically stopped bottles altogether except for like when he was going to bed. And it
Mhm.
took like a month or two to like wean him off of it. But like Henry has basically just decided I am 1, I am not doing that shit anymore. And like he like pushes your hand away, won't let you get it close to him. Like this is like 3 or 4 nights in a row. He's just like straight up said, "No, I'm not doing it."
He's a tough cookie.
Yeah,
I think he gets his stubbornness from you, Joe.
dude. Like so, like he had like 4 straight days with me. Like he is battle wounded. Like he went to stand up on the closet doors. The doors slid, and he he went down and hit his face on the dresser, so he has like this like red line over his
Yeah.
eye down his cheek.
Yeah.
He wouldn't get out of the way of the dog and fell back into the fireplace, so he has like this scratch down his back like this big. Like he's
Clumsy. Sounds
yeah,
like it. Yeah.
he's
But
got a
he's won.
big head and little feet.
Yeah. The good old days. I don't even know what I'm saying. Cool. Well, I'm glad the birthday party went well. Yeah, so we are going to rate our favorite commercials. We're going to try to stick around the commercials that happen just during the Super Bowl because they're always hilarious and they spend extra money because it's the most viewers like all year. So the TV spots for ads are so expensive. Have you heard how much they are?
Oh, it's like millions and millions of dollars for like a 20-second ad.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, crazy money.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't make any sense to me how
You're
much
talking
money
about
people spend in advertising.
billions of viewers on these things, and then even more so, like they're assuming that like TVs wise is how they rate it. I have no idea,
Yeah.
but
Have you seen Mad Men, by the way?
I haven't.
Dude, it's good. It's about guys that do advertising like that.
Okay.
Like
So
marketing guys.
when
But back in the day.
we rate this, are you gonna go like your 3, 2, 1, and then I'll do my 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, I mean, there were so many good ones. But I guess we can just each do three, sure. So I took a couple notes, but I'm going to try to remind you of what went on in these commercials if I can.
Okay.
Um, I don't remember which time this was, but it was one of the Doritos commercials because they had this competition where all these people sent in like videos to do their own Doritos commercial.
Okay.
And I think this was one of the ones that won. They're these guys working out, and one of them has a bag of Doritos, and he like eats one. He's like, "Here you go." The guy's like, "Yeah, sick." Eats one too, and it's like old school '80s, I think, kind of feel. He had like sweatbands, like workout outfits that you'd see in the '80s or whatever, like bright colors.
Okay.
And he's like, "Where'd you get those?" And he said, "From so and so's locker." The guy goes, and he opens his mouth and he drops the chip. He's like, "What's the big deal?" He's like, "He's obsessed with Doritos, like obsessed." And then they look over to the corner and they see him out of the corner of their eye or whatever, and all of a sudden the guy gets a chip stuck in his neck because he like threw it like a throwing star, and he like falls over and says the guy's name or whatever, and it shows the dude in the corner, and he's wearing this giant Dorito outfit, like swinging something around his head, that's screaming at the top of his lungs. It was insane.
You
But
said
yeah, I would say that was number 3.
I'm gonna be real quick here. You
You're good.
said threw a Dorito like a throwing star. This past week, Indiana legalized Chinese throwing stars.
Dude,
Like
I
the
wouldn't even.
state government decided that legalizing Chinese throwing stars was a topic enough to move that forward. The fuck are we doing here, people? Sorry. Go ahead.
No. It's funny you say that though, because when Aaron Lewis talks to the crowd and he sometimes rants, he does that. He says, "What are we doing here, people?"
Dude,
And he talks to people like that all the time. It's so funny that you said that. You sounded just like him.
Dan Cummings always says, "Come on, sheeple."
Yeah. Um. So that was number 3. It was a really funny one, and so many of the Doritos ones were good. It was hard to narrow them down, so I just tried to remember one off the top of my hat.
Yeah.
But I heard a group from Cedarville University that knew Ivan Batista and my brother's group of friends.
Mm-hmm.
They submitted one of the Doritos ones and it got on air. Like they won something. I think they won money and then they used their video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, something like that. So number 2, I would say, man, there were so many funny ones. But out of the Bud Light commercials, there was a bunch of Budweiser versus Bud Light. You remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when like the bottles were fighting each other on the field or whatever, like the battle of Budweiser and Bud Light, and Budweiser would win sometimes, but Bud Light would win sometimes. I thought those were cool. So those would be number 2. And then the concept when people get hangry, they need a Snickers because they're not themselves, and it shows like the different people that
Oh
they
yeah,
turn
yeah,
into,
yeah.
and it's usually an actor, like a
Yeah.
funny actor or actress. The one that stuck out to me was, you remember that old lady? She was in so many movies and shows. I think she died recently. She was always old. She always had white hair, but she was hilarious.
Betty White.
Yes, Betty White. So somebody turns into Betty White on this football field,
Yeah,
and
I
they
know.
like tackle the shit out of her, and she's like on the ground, like oh, oh, and then the woman comes over and says, "Honey, honey, eat this. You're not acting yourself." It's just perfect. So yeah, I think
Uh,
Snickers would be my number one.
okay. Uh, that one had a bunch of funny runs with it. I remember what you're talking about there. So yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about that one.
Like
Um,
somebody turned into Danny DeVito, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like so many funny ones.
so I feel like I didn't do any research on this because I didn't want to skew what I remember of them, because like I feel like that's what is the sustainability of a good commercial is like, oh, I remember this being a fucking hilarious Super Bowl commercial, right?
Hmm.
So like if I researched it, I feel like it would skew it. Um
It's all good.
so my number one, or my I guess my number three is, do you remember when Britney Spears did that Pepsi commercial for the Super Bowl? And it was like, and then later on, like Austin Powers mocked the Pepsi commercial, and then basically saying that she was like a robot for it or whatever. Like,
Yeah, I
like
remember that
that
now.
that would probably be my number three.
Okay, nice.
Um,
I loved Austin Powers.
so my number two, like the Budweiser frogs,
Oh
like the
yeah,
Budweiser, like
I
that,
forgot about those.
like I feel
The
like
whole
that would have to
series.
be on the list for me, or like just even Budweiser commercials in general, like the
I totally
Budweiser
even forgot about that.
Clydesdales when like they had one like a year or two ago where that like the Budweiser Clydesdales came back, and like I was talking about this section with my wife earlier, and she was like talking about like she almost cried during that commercial when the Budweiser
Yeah,
Clydesdales came back.
yeah, dude, because it's pretty epic,
Yeah.
and beer brings people joy. So it's like awesome.
Did you know that I got to accept a case of Budweiser from Budweiser Clydesdales delivering to my store one time? So I
No,
have
I
like a
didn't.
picture of like me in front of the Budweiser Clydesdales accepting a case of beer.
I actually got to pet the Clydesdales. We played a rodeo. We did a lot of rodeos doing the Aaron Lewis gig, and they had them in like these little bin areas or whatever because they took them out of the trailer, and they had the giant Budweiser trailer that they pull them in and stuff. It was cool.
So
Giant
like,
horses, man. I had no idea that they were that big.
dude, they're absolutely massive and they're so intimidating. Like when I went to accept it, like that cart that those Clydesdales pull, like it's like where they sit, it's like 7-8 feet high on that cart that they pull.
Huge.
So like I have a picture when I was with like the head person for like a Heidelberg was delivering the cases or whatever. But I'll send you a picture when I get back to the house, or maybe post it on our
Yeah.
social media kind of. But like I'm staying next to this Clydesdale and like my head is at the like kind of like at the bottom of its like mid torso. Like those
Yeah.
things are
If you
absolutely
find that
massive.
picture, we'll throw it in there
Yeah.
so people can see it.
It's hanging up in my office actually. So
That's awesome. I
um
didn't. I took pictures and sent them to Carrie, so I have them on my phone. Not
okay.
with me, with them. I should have had somebody do that. I didn't even think about that. But I was by myself because I walked over there. Everybody
Yeah.
else had done it already.
So my last one is a GoDaddy commercial. It was a GoDaddy commercial, and like they were advertising that like you're gonna see Danica Patrick naked in the
Hmm.
commercial,
I
and
remember
then when
that.
the commercial actually comes, like you almost got to, you didn't. There's so many people that tuned in just to be able to see like.
Of course, yeah, yeah.
So
Hardee's did
that's
one
my number
too,
one
similar to
because
that.
like when I think of Super Bowl commercials, I think of Danica Patrick almost getting to see her naked. The GoDaddy commercial.
Nice.
I told Jess that too.
No shame, no shame. She probably would be like, you know what? I would look. You said you had never heard of Ashley Madison before.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so I was watching a video on banned Super Bowl commercials, or ones that didn't get accepted because they were too risque. This was one of them.
Okay.
Ashley Madison was an app from a Canadian company, I guess, that would offer people to have affairs. It legitimately was married people having affairs and meeting on an app where there was somebody else that was married that wanted to have an affair. That was real. and they wouldn't air it. The NFL said no because they tried to sell the ad. That ad, I had seen that commercial before though, so it is on TV, or it was.
That's
It just
wild.
they didn't let it be on the NFL network, I guess.
Like, there's a bunch of funny ones. Like, if you go down that tangent, like I've heard of all these commercials getting banned or whatever. Like, I think there's even like was there a Netflix special about this?
There might have been, yeah. I mean, probably. Do you remember the WhatsApp ones? WhatsApp.
Oh yeah,
That was so annoying
dude.
because
That was
people
like
did it all the time.
dude. My uncle answered his phone like that every time he
I
answered
believe
his
it.
phone.
I believe it. People were obsessed.
It's
It
so
was
bad.
so dumb. I saw the alien one where it was aliens and they like unzipped a human body and an alien popped out on a spaceship. And
Do
they
you
were
remember
like, "So
like
how was Earth?" And then he just says, "What's up?" And
the
then everybody does it.
like that scene in like the Scream, not the Scream, the Scary Movie, where it was like all the Scream masks doing that?
Yeah, those were funny.
Yeah.
At least the first one was.
There was
Okay.
I saw a video earlier where it was like, what I'm gonna do to my wife if I die before her, and it was like that scene in Scary Movie where that ghost is screwing that chick and is like going up the wall across the ceiling.
Yep, yep. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those were all really, really good. I remember the Nike commercials being good. Pepsi had some really good ones too. So it was really McDonald's. McDonald's did like a series where it was Larry Bird versus Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it was like they did like they played horse or whatever
Yeah.
game you would call it. They
I
mimic
remember what
each
you're
other.
talking about.
So whoever misses the shot first has to watch the other one eat the Big Mac or whatever.
So this isn't like a Super Bowl commercial, and it might have been, but like I always remembered like the like iconic commercials was always like leading up to Christmas, the Coca-Cola with the polar bear commercials.
Oh yeah, those were cool.
And I don't think that was Super Bowl. I just think it was like leading up to Christmas, so it was always those ones.
I don't think my parents will ever watch this, but if they do, my mom will get a kick out of this because I used to always look back when we would watch TV as a family a lot, and I would always look back at her when I knew that there was something even slightly emotional that would trigger her to start crying because she used to have a very short fuse for crying. A Hallmark commercial on for 5 seconds, like almost immediately she'll do that and like tears will start coming. I'm like, what's going on?
Dude,
Um,
the Sarah
so
McLachlan
the
dog
polar bear
commercial.
ones, yeah, yeah,
Like, I don't know how many times I've seen girls cry to that.
yeah, for real. But in any case, yeah, mom, love you, but it's hilarious. You always cry at commercials. I've always found it entertaining. But she would get mad at me when I was younger because I would always like during a sad part of a movie, I'd look back to see if she was crying, and she'd kick me and be like, "Stop it, leave me alone."
I do that to Jess now. Like she'll like we'll hit a point in a movie or something like that, and I'll kind of just start. Dude, I tell you what though, like,
I cry during movies.
dude,
If they're well done
never
enough.
like I
Sure.
don't think I've cried like actual tears in years and years and years and years of my life. But like as soon as I had a kid, like something in me triggered to where like in certain parts of like movies or shows, I'm like, I think I need to change the channel. Like it was something in me triggered to where like I now have an emotional spot in my soul. I don't know.
Joe, you have a heart.
I've been
I
trying
knew
to
you did.
I've been
I
trying
knew
to
you did.
bury that for years and years.
I know. I've been friends with you this entire time. You're always angry, and it's because you're fighting love. Don't fight love.
Not
Let love happen.
I'm not
Jess will thank you.
angry. Just
Wait, time out. Say what? Why are you lying, dude?
I'm just trying to express the hate I have in my heart.
Do you remember that that Chappelle skit? Hate, 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 hate. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
So we
Chappelle's
started
a
this
genius.
we started this podcast and wanted to see what rabbit hole we would end up going down. Like so like do you have a Chappelle story?
Just going to his concerts,
Like
or
have you seen him around town, seen him about?
yeah, I've seen him a couple times at Blind Bob's. He's cool. We've cheers before. And he hung out at Ned Pepper's a few times when I was at the back bar.
Okay.
But besides that, I haven't had like conversations with him or anything. Just like interactions like that.
So like my story with him is like when I was in high school going to like that shop in Yellow Springs and running into him buying vitamins of things of sort, and he was happened to be there, but like he was turning 40, so however many years ago that was for him. I don't know how old he is now. So it was his 40th birthday, and I was at the patio at a trolley stop, and this dude has this like backpack speaker just blaring jazz music, and like I'm getting fucking annoyed, like because it's not like it's pretty quiet back there, right? And like there might be a little bit of background music, but like that's part of the reason
It's
everybody
a cool
goes back
spot.
there.
It's a
It's a
cool
very
spot.
chill spot, and like
Hmm.
this music is so loud, and it's like obnoxious jazz music, like very high pitch trumpets, heavy drums. Like it's not the time or place, right? So like
Yeah.
I'm getting like fucking annoyed, and I go to get up to get a drink, and I kind of the dude turns around, like realize it's Dave Chappelle, and he's wearing like this weird backpack speaker and just like bebopping around. Like I'm like, holy shit!
On the street.
Like he's back in the patio at a
So he's
trolley
actually
stop.
in Trolley doing
Yeah,
this. The fuck?
and he's just walking around in the fucking place. So like I go up to my tab and like, hey, like we're gonna leave, and the person was like, why don't you get another drink, hang out for a minute? I'm like, all right, okay. So get another drink, get another round, go out to the patio. He's out there and he's cracking jokes, talking to people. So at this point, it's like, okay, like whatever. He's hanging out, and then we go back inside to cash out. He's inside cashing out. He buys the tab for every single person in the bar. He buys all the open tabs,
That's sick. I've
and
heard of
then
I've heard of him doing that.
him and his buddies end up taking off to the green, and like there's a lot of
I
like there's a
I
lot
heard
of
he used to
shitty
hang out
people that
there.
like followed him there to go do that, and like
I
we weren't
believe that.
about that life, but like
No.
he's like solid dude, like just doing that shit, didn't even say anything, like paid everybody's tab, and then ran the fuck out of there,
Hey, when you got money,
right?
I guess you can do that kind of
Well, that
stuff.
was the funny thing is like it was his birthday, and he wasn't drinking or doing anything. He was just taking all his buddies out. He was driving his Porsche around and just hanging out, having a good time.
Good for him. Yeah, he's awesome. I like Dave Chappelle. Did you have a favorite Super Bowl? We were talking about the commercials, but I kind of do, or like memories of watching one at a certain place, like with family or friends, or any parties or anything that stick out to you.
Yeah, so like for me and at my workplace, it's like one of the busiest days of the year for us. And it's something you have to plan weeks and weeks and weeks, and like leading up to it, it's like quite the event, quite the ordeal of how to like execute it and it go well. And so like I haven't got to watch many Super Bowls, and normally on the like the ones I do get to watch, it's on like the second half, and I'm normally so exhausted because I've been at work for 12 to 15 hours, and like
Right, right. And
so like the
you've been
day
doing this for a
itself kind
while.
of sucks, right?
Hmm.
So
For your
um
industry specifically, for sure.
yeah, so like I would say like as a kid, the one that sticks out the most was the Rams versus the Titans, and it was Eddie George almost scored a game-winning touchdown the last second that came like a yard or two short,
I don't know if I
and
remember that
the
one.
Rams ended up winning. It was the greatest show on turf. Won.
Mm.
Eddie George was an Ohio State guy, won the Heisman Trophy at Ohio State. I think as a kid, that's probably the most iconic to me. Last year is probably will end up being like one of the most memorable because we had Jack literally 2 days before the Super Bowl. Bengals were in the Super Bowl. Granted, they
Hmm.
ended up losing, but like it was a really close, good game. So I think that one will always kind of stick out to me as like something I'll remember forever. As far as like my favorite Super Bowl, like there's a lot of like close games and stuff like that. Like Santonio Holmes was a Ohio State guy. He played for the Steelers. I hate the Steelers, but like Ohio State dude won a game winning catch. That was one of the best catches in the Super Bowl. Like little moments like that, like Ohio State people, stuff like that. But like for me, like the Super Bowl is like one of my most dreaded days because everybody else gets to go have fun and I'm
I know.
there getting
I
my
know.
dick kicked in. So like it's fun. Like so like you
Yeah,
don't know
sorry.
what it's like.
No.
And like so we'll do
No.
like 2
I have an
days.
idea.
We'll do like 2 days worth of sales in like a 4-hour time period. And like
It's just everybody getting prepped for the game.
and to do it right and it go off well, it's awesome. It's a good feeling. But like I've been in situations where it didn't go well and it was a nightmare. Like it was
I
so
believe it.
bad.
I
And
believe
like so like
it.
for me like the Super Bowl, like if I ever get to a position where like I don't have to work the Super Bowl anymore, like I think I would be like super excited about it. But like for me, like the Super Bowl is just like all right, we're working, a lot of planning and hope it goes well.
I get that. I get that. I have one. It was my cousins used to live in Green Bay, and they were huge Brett Favre fans.
Okay.
And we would try to visit my mom's side of the family. It was my mom's brother's family. Um, around the holidays, it was almost always their family. We weren't really close to my dad's family.
Hmm.
Um, so we went up to Green Bay, and I remember we went there like after Christmas for New Year's, and was it? It couldn't have been the Super Bowl. It had to have been around the Super Bowl, so it wasn't New Year's. Yeah. Either way, we did see the Super Bowl at our cousin's house, and and it was Green Bay and Brett Favre, and it was like an amazing game, and they won, and it was insane to be around such diehard fans,
Yeah.
because they really are diehard fans. So, and that was when he was either really new. It was in the '90s. Um, I would say mid '90s, maybe '95, '96. I don't know the history of Brett Favre or when he started or whatever, but it was early.
He
It was early
won
on.
one and then went to one. I think he went to one and lost, and then went to another one and won. So, I don't remember the era. I think that maybe they, without looking at it off the top of my head, I think they, because there was a stretch where like, uh, through like the mid '90s, late '90s, it was like Patriots went and then lost and then they won, and then the Rams went and lost and then won, and then Packers went and they won, lost and then won. And it was like every team that went to one and lost, they won the next year.
Yeah, because they were determined.
Yeah,
Because they knew what they needed to do to
that's
do.
also what was going to happen with the Bengals this year. So
I hope
like
so. That'd be cool.
on our list, uh, one I think it would be funny if we had shirts with our logo and on the back of it said "Put that on the list." Because like so many times we say like put that on the list. We
Oh,
refer to the list every time.
like while we're recording because
Yeah.
we're super professional at this.
Yeah. So like it says wild parties, Super Bowl parties, wild events. It's like we're on the Super Bowl parties. Like it's like do you have a wild party like that might not have been a Super Bowl party?
We're going down this path.
So like we got time. We wanted to go down a rabbit hole. It's topical, kind of. It's on the list. I didn't put it on there. Maybe you did. Maybe I did. I don't fucking know. But like, it's like there, like we got a lot of like wild parties. Like we had some at the house. We had some like impromptu parties. We had like Mucho Fuego. Like there's
Yeah,
a lot.
I would say Mucho Fuego was probably the wildest country party I've ever been to. People that watch this, I hope some of you got to go to a Mucho Fuego. If not, it was a wild party because it was out on our friend's farm, out in the middle of nowhere. They had like a little shack built kind of where they had bands play. A couple of my bands played it a few times, different bands or whatever. So many friends came and played it. It was like hundreds and hundreds of people and just parking out in a field and all like partying pretty hard, and most of us crashing in the field or in a car, or if you were smart enough to bring a tent, or if Trevor knew you well enough, there was just piles of people sleeping like right outside of his room in that little lobby area in the front of their house. So it was insane. Every year, giant bonfire, fireworks.
Do you remember the
dirt
year
bikes.
that we weren't quite 21? both probably close to turning 21, probably inside of a year, right? We're on our way there, have a car full of beer, car full of liquor, your drums shoved into this car, and we're at that intersection. That car pulls out and just gets T-boned.
I thought you were going to bring that up. Yeah, that was an insane wreck. Dude is bleeding from the head.
Like, I was terrified. But then everybody was okay, and we're like, all right, we're getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I remember that because we were there. We were with 2 other people, I think.
I don't remember. I only remember me and you in the car. There could be other people.
I think we had multiple cars.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't, I was glad it wasn't, somebody in our crew.
Yeah.
But also, sucks that they got into a wreck. But I think they were okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, there were a lot of wrecks at the intersection. That's why they redid it. Have you seen it?
Oh, it's like it might be even worse now though with like the U-turn situation.
It's terrifying.
Yeah,
I hate it. Yeah, but
so
I rarely go out to Spring Valley. So
for me, like we had a lot of like St. Patrick's Day parties. We had a lot of like planned parties. But for me, like the favorite party that me and you ever had was you had a show you were playing with Me in the Making. Like you were in the band Me in the Making. Trillet.
With a T. Yeah.
Opened, and these dudes were like, for anybody that doesn't know who we're talking about, they were a punk rock band who made a joke band that turned out to be really good. They were very like digital,
dancey
electronica music, and like they're really good. And so like we go to the show. I don't think anybody knew them before this moment. And like
first time they came to our town,
everybody kind of hit it off. Everybody had a great time, and then all of a sudden we end up back at our house, and like I don't know how many people were at the show, but I feel like there was more people at our house at one point than that was actually at the fucking show.
Yeah, because like, people came. I think everybody from the show came.
Everybody from the show came, and then random people started showing up, and all of a sudden it turned into a rap battle. Like people were playing what?
Like a house show, like a basement show.
Yeah. So we had a basement show, and it was like it turned into like a show, and then all of a sudden turned into rap battle. Like, and then all of a sudden, like random fucking people started showing. My brother, we were in kind of like southern part of Dayton, and my brother had like a cook that worked for him at Huber show up, and Jeremy was like, "Who the fuck? Who do you know here?" And like a friend of a friend of a friend knew Joe, who was played for the cutscene at the time. I think was maybe the cutscene played with in this show as well.
Maybe
because I mean Joe is from possible. Huber, but he was basically hurt. The kid's response to Jeremy was, "I heard there's a rap battle here," and so like it was fucking wild. Like our basement was 8 foot high, not that big.
No,
maybe like two of your sheds.
Yeah. Close quarters, for sure.
Close quarters.
Mm-hmm.
At max, I think at its peak, there was probably about 200 people in the house.
Oops. Yeah, I would believe it. It was insane.
So like years later, I had a bartender work for me that lived in these apartments across the street, and he was younger than us, and he was like, "Dude, I used to see these wild fucking parties. I used to always just want to walk over there and see if they let me in." And I'm like, we probably wouldn't even known that you didn't know anybody in the house.
Yeah, we wouldn't care. As long as you're not there to steal and just to party, we don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Join us, man. Everyone's welcome. That's why I liked those parties back then, man. Shit didn't matter. No. People weren't mean. Everybody was friends, no matter what.
You do feel bad. There was a few like there was one kid that decided to walk home one night and lived in Kettering, pretty far away. And I think he got like a public intox that night walking home from the party. Like there was a few like casualties.
There were definitely some DUIs that came from our parties, not us, but that's what happens when you're kids and you party. Like luckily nobody got hurt, and I know that that's terrible, but I think a lot of people could say that they did that when they were kids. So,
do you remember the dude that played in I don't want to give up his name, but like you'd always like refer to his glasses as gogs.
Who was that? Are you gonna look it up?
I typed it over to you.
Oh, yeah. What about him?
He was the one that got like a public intox walking home from our party.
Oh, we can say his first name, Brad.
Okay.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
He
forgot
he
about
was
that.
he I fucking love that dude. I
Great guy.
absolutely
Great
loved
guy.
him.
Yeah, great guy. He's I think he's still in Dayton. I'm gonna cut that.
Did you have like any wild like parties in like high school or anything like that or
There, I can't get in trouble because I already got in trouble because I think the neighbors told on me. But um, I did throw some small parties or get-togethers when I was at Cedarville. I think I was in high school. I don't remember for sure. I think I was in high school, but I was playing music. So like some of my music buddies wanted to come into town, and they were bringing beers or whatever we were drinking. They just brought alcohol of some kind. I think it was probably like Four Locos and beer, or like vodka and like gross Boone's Farm drinks and stuff. Like
yeah.
they would always bring weird things. But I think it was like Tyler and some of those guys, and his now wife Kim, and some other people. But do you remember Sam Redhead, that was a singer of a couple bands
Mhm.
in Cedarville? He was there. I think he was there with his girlfriend at the time or whatever. Nice dude. But so my parents were gone for the weekend, and I'm pretty sure I was still in high school. So I did a thing where I had everybody park down the street, like a couple streets over, and then I would pick them up and pull into my garage and unload them. And if anybody else wanted to come, I would do the same thing. It worked, right? I thought. All the blinds were closed, but then some people started going out on the patio and smoking, or on our deck or whatever. So that's when the neighbors saw and they told on me or whatever. In any case, it was a good party, but nothing crazy happened. But that was just one of those things where I had to be like so secretive of it because they weren't into that, obviously. So um, never really got too crazy. Never broke anything of my parents. Um, there were a couple fights, but not like anything major. Just people getting drunk and getting mad, throwing a punch, but nothing else happens, kind of thing. Really
Like
lame, actually.
like at your little party that you had?
Yeah, there was a scuffle between a couple guys. I forget who they were.
That's so
Um,
funny.
yeah, just little stuff, stupid things. Didn't matter. We were in high school. But I would say the craziest ones were definitely at the Irving house. I don't
Yeah.
know. Besides that, like hanging out with all of those people, definitely Mucho Fuego, but also Spring Valley parties. Did you ever go
Okay.
to any Spring Valley parties? So I'm not going to name names, but there were a couple families that were okay with us drinking as long as we didn't drive anywhere and we stayed there. So we had to like give them our keys. Nobody could leave, but they would let us get drunk in their garage and play like beer pong and do whatever. They would just let us get hammered basically, and then we couldn't go anywhere. Yeah, Billy was there. I can say Billy's name. He doesn't care.
I was like
But it wasn't his family.
okay.
So
I was gonna, like
I
I was
mean,
like, well,
I
fuck,
think
they're
his
out.
dad. No. I think his dad was cool with it because he knew that we were responsible, and he
Yeah.
was letting us spread our wings and learn lessons if we made mistakes. But he knew we were smart enough not to be like idiots, with certain things. So, um,
I thought you just outed him right there, like, yeah,
no, no, no,
Billy.
no. No. But he was always there for sure because it was all of our band guys,
Yeah.
and most of them were from there, right? So we would always hang out there. Trevor would show up sometimes. Taylor, I'll cut that out.
Oh,
51.
boop.
You know all these people I'm talking about, right? His brother.
53. Yeah.
Okay. And then like Trev and everybody else. So those would get pretty wild. I will say that. And then the ones that stick out to me when it comes to college parties, we would go to Miami of Oxford with Kim, Tyler's wife,
Yeah.
because she went there. And we'd hang out with her, and her roommate was really nice. And they would let us crash on the floor. So me and Billy would always go out there with Tyler and hang out, and we would go to the craziest parties. Like you see movies that have college parties, that's how it was.
Dude, so me and one of our buddies went to a party out there. We didn't really have a game plan other than just going out there and partying for a weekend. It hit the point where we were both like, we're tired, we're fucked up, we need to crash. And we didn't have a game plan, so we're like, fuck it. Like, we're from the country, like, we know how to do this. And so we hopped in this fucking station wagon and took off out into the country because it's in the middle of nowhere, right? So like you just head on a road anywhere out of town and you can find a cornfield. We just fucking just beelined into a cornfield and slept in the cornfield overnight. Just fucking 100 yards, made a few zigzags,
Oh
passed
my
out.
god.
Like, and you'd think that you'd have a hard time like falling asleep in the middle of a car in the middle of a cornfield. If you're as drunk as we were, as soon as we like turned the car off, just out.
That's bad.
Absolutely
Yeah,
terrifying waking up though. Like,
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. There was one crazy party. I don't know if you came to this, but we did a house show. It was either Words as Weapons or Me in the Making, and it was at UC because one of the friends from the Spring Valley group went to UC.
okay.
So he was at a house with a bunch of other dudes. It was basically like a frat house. So we did a show on the third floor. Um, and the cops came, and it was like a lot of people and a lot of noise. And I remember when someone first started yelling, the cops, the cops, the cops, we all had to like bolt up into the attic and lock the door. And we just all hid basically because most of us were underage. It was crazy.
So like when I was in Cedarville in high school, I was there for my freshman sophomore year. I don't know like if most places get after it like we were when I was a freshman and sophomore, but like every weekend we were getting hammered.
Well, it just
Like
depends. It just depends.
so like
I've heard of schools like that.
me and two buddies were getting after it every single weekend. And so like there was a story where we were at a party. It was your typical like high school party where like somebody bet somebody that they wouldn't eat all of the goldfish out of the fish tank at the house. And the dude ate all of the goldfish out of the house, out of the fish tank in the house.
That's terrible.
Uh,
That's someone's pet. That's messed up. No way.
the cops came to this party.
Oh wow.
I don't know what happened. I don't remember what happened. But all I know is me and one of our other friends were convinced we were about to get arrested because me and him had in hindsight, less than a misdemeanor's worth of weed on us. But
Oh,
we were convinced that we were going to go to jail. And so we ran up to the bathroom, jumped out of the 2-story building window, and then took off into the cornfield, convinced that we were about to go to jail.
oh wow.
And in hindsight, I don't think anything happened. I just think there was like a noise complaint. Kid at the house, like, oh, I'm sorry, we'll turn it down. And that was kind of the end of it. But like me and
Yeah.
him were like convinced bad things were happening. So in
That's
like
gotta be rough.
Indiana, when I moved to Indiana, like out there it was much different. Like for house parties, like they didn't show up and smack you on the hand and tell you to be quiet. They showed up with a bus and arrested everybody. And so like
Which is
Indiana
kind of
house,
awesome.
like in Indiana, like high school house parties were like almost non-existent because of like these like buses, like police buses showing up and just arresting every single person in there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, besides those, I don't think there's really anything too crazy. I know there was one time when Kyle and all those guys were going to Wright State. They lived like
I was
in
with
that
you.
apartment. Yeah. And then the cops came and separated us on one side of the room to the other, who was 21 and who wasn't. Do you
What
remember?
side did you go on?
I wasn't 21.
I wasn't 21 and I went to the 21 side.
I didn't go
And
you
they
always had
never
a
asked
fake
me
ID,
for
didn't
they
you?
didn't ask me for my ID or anything.
Well, you always looked older.
But yeah, that we literally showed up to that party. It got broken up by the cops, and then like we literally went down like a
Or no,
few
wait, was
blocks.
I 21?
What?
I might have been 21.
We were both under 21
Oh,
because it was during like May Days. Do you remember those like parties at like big parties at Wright State, the May Days?
yep.
So like it was during that, like we were both under 21.
I know UD had some crazy parties I would stumble into when we used to live down there.
Really?
Remember we tried to do that a couple times?
Yeah.
Wasn't my thing. Wasn't my scene.
No.
We weren't preppy enough.
Do you remember
Or
like
yeah. Or
we
young
have it
enough.
on here? Like I mean, we're kind of on the topic. Like, do you remember like your 21st birthday party? Like your 21st birthday week?
Yeah. I was waiting for you to bring it up. I was hoping you wouldn't.
We called it
That
Dave
was,
Fest
that was a long week.
because you're the
I
first
told
one
a
to turn.
couple.
You're the first one to turn 21 in like our friend group. At
Yeah,
that
I
moment,
remember. Yeah,
he said, "Yeah, I remember."
and it was your brothers. Like they thought it was their duty to kill us through alcohol poisoning.
Well, it was my sister that actually bought all that beer. Not bought,
Yeah,
but like I gave her money to buy it. But like,
but during that week, Jeremy always bought me like shots and drinks when we would go out.
oh yeah, yeah. Like
Like
we,
he that was his goal. He just kept
like
spending
I think
money.
I think I bought like 8 cases of Miller Lite
I
start
told
us
my
off, and it didn't
I told my
last.
friends we did a case a day
Yeah,
at least. And that was without going out, but like that was just at home.
yeah. That was, but it was only like between like 3 of us. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't like
but
a
we still went out though.
yeah.
We're like, we're going to B-Dubs? No, let's do Milano's. Okay, right across the street. We were so lazy. We ate there all the time. Well, we would be like, what are you guys doing? We're going to see TJ. Milano's? Okay, cool. Do you remember all that?
Yeah.
It was insane because we were all right there. That was a party.
Do you have any specific like nights of that week that you like that stand out?
Was that the week that Jeremy fell in the kitchen and like
I think so.
broke his nose or whatever?
We'll throw it in there. Yeah, sure. We'll say it's that week. I don't fucking know.
that stuck out to me as something I would remember from that week more than anything else. Besides, like, I don't think I'll ever drink that much in that short period of time ever again.
I mean, I probably have, and I probably will again. But that like tell that story.
So I was the first person out of our friend group to turn 21 besides Joe's older brothers. We decided to do Dave Fest, and we partied for a week straight, 7 days in a row.
Every night.
Every single night, and sometimes starting early in the day. So we would like wake up and just start drinking. We probably had, I would say, each at least 10 to 12 beers a day, if not more. And that doesn't include doing shots or going to our normal bars, because we would always go down to a street near our house and party at the same 2 bars right across the street from each other.
We also, do you remember when you had your ID taken when you were 21 from Kramer's?
Yeah.
I wasn't 21. I showed them an expired ID. It worked. It had been expired for like 6 years. You showed them an actual ID and they took yours.
Yep.
Okay.
I was so mad. Whatever. We went like less than a half a mile up to our house from there, and then drank at the house. So it didn't matter. Kramer's was a good time.
Yeah.
I remember that place. But yeah, nothing sticks out to me besides Jeremy falling. But so we drank that much and we didn't stop. We just partied that whole week.
So
we had everybody over too, right? A bunch of different nights in a row.
Yeah,
we had a lot of people come over.
So the story with Jeremy was we're playing drinking games, and
in the basement.
We had smoked a bunch of vitamins, and my brother was getting kind of woobly, and he goes to walk up the stairs, and right above the basement was our kitchen, and Jeremy and David was like, listen to him. He's gonna walk up the stairs and you're gonna hear a kaboom. He's gonna pass out. And literally at the top of the stairs, you hear like 1, 2, 3 steps. Boom! Passed out. We hear this loud bang, and we're like, oh, he's just fucking with us. We don't hear anything. Don't hear anything. So we all go running up the stairs, and he like passed out and hit his face on like this shelf that we had, like hit the microwave, hit the next shelf, and then his face was laying on the bottom shelf with just a pool of blood underneath of him because of him smacking his face so many times down the shelf.
Yep.
So
busted his nose,
dude. So like, my neighbors, I live in a cul-de-sac. Everybody in the cul-de-sac is retired around here, and so like we're the only young couple that's still actively working, and we have a Christmas party at one of our neighbors' houses, and they have that same like cabinet shelf thing, and I took a picture of it and sent it to Jeremy, and he was like, that gives me PTSD.
That's so good. I want to hear from his perspective, but I think he said he blacked out, if I remember correctly.
His issue was like we would party at the house and he would go out and party at the bars because he was much older than us, and then he would come home and party with us, and he would just obliterate himself. And
There were a couple times when when we were drinking and we would like go into the living room and start watching a movie, and then he would get up to go to his bedroom. I remember sitting there and watching him wobble, and he would wobble and like hold himself up on the door for a second, and then wobble more, and then finally get to his room.
So we didn't have
it was great.
We didn't have a DVD player, like remote or anything. We had like a PlayStation. We would play movies off the PlayStation. So the cord from the PlayStation would go across like the alleyway to the couch where he would be. And like him trying to maneuver to step over that cord to get to the bathroom or his bedroom was like, he's like this doing this wild balancing act. Like the one time like he'd always trip over and like smash into the wall or whatever.
Dude, that house was so gross. If you were looking back, it was so gross.
It was so gross.
I can't believe some of our friends slept in that basement room. You know what I'm talking about? It's bad.
No, it was bad. My current wife, we always looked at each other and we're like, we know each other somehow. Because like she was close friends with Wes. Like we had a lot of friends in common. Like we could never figure out how we knew each other. And then like come to find out, like she opened up the Milanos in Beaver Creek as a server and then turned to cashier and worked in the morning time. So like I definitely worked with her. And then like after years and years and years of trying to figure out exactly like how because like there was a moment like we knew each other, right? So like, and this is years and years and years before we actually started dating. We had a St. Patrick's Day party, and I had invited like 4 girls like, to the St. Patrick's Day party. Like, throw a wide net out, see what sticks, right? Like at that age, you got to do what you can do, right?
Hey, wild stabs in the dark.
So only one of them showed up, but like she was one of the ones I invited. It's like, hey, like I have a St. Patrick's Day party. You should come. And she was like, my fiance is a dishwasher here. Like, you know, he's my fiance. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like, don't bring him. Like,
and that's amazing and terrible.
Yeah. So we have this like running joke of like what would have happened if she would have actually came to the party, because like she ended up not marrying said dude. I had girl show up to party and ended up dating her for a long time. So like that's kind of like our running like what would have happened, and like we was like hindsight probably for the best that we never did that back then, but like it's also kind of like a funny moment for us because what would have been.
Right. Yeah. Maybe nothing.
Probably nothing.
Or maybe everything. I mean, waka waka.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, I'm kind of good with how much we talked about. I knew we would get enough time in.
Yeah, so. we would find a tangent to go down at some point.
We always do. All right, I guess we're going to try to end this thing. Make sure you check us out on our socials. Best Man Pod on Twitter, Best Man Pod on Instagram, and the Best Man Pod on Facebook. So new episodes are going to be up. We're going to try to do them every week if we can. And post clips, advertising for it, and showing you guys what we're talking about. So please like and share and comment, because we've had a lot of views on videos and not very many new followers. So if you like what you're seeing, give us a like and subscribe or whatever.
Give it a like, give it a share, give it a thumbs up, give it some sort of anything.
Do something.
Do something.
Do something. Yes. Joe's getting upset.
I feel like
loving the views. Loving the views.
Like,
yeah. Thank you for watching.
Alive?
But do us a favor and let us know you are enjoying it.
Yeah, man. But
okay, cool.
Had fun. Appreciate you, bub.
Yeah, appreciate you too. See you guys.
See ya.